Do it.
Greetings, Padawans, and welcome to the archives. Here to unlock. Greetings, Padawans, and welcome to the archives. Here to unlock this holocron is the man of the hour, Jedi Master AlsoTeeko.
Shot, what is good, guys? It's your boy AlsoTeeko. We are back on the block. We are back on the block that we call Star Wars, the Archives podcast, and I'm super glad to have you guys here. Today we're going to be talking about the Old Republic. I'm kind of obsessed with it right now. I have to be honest, I'm kind of obsessed with it right now. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the main characters in the Old Republic, and then we have a bunch of Galactic dispatches for you. This is the Archives podcast. I do implore you guys to leave a like, subscribe, comment, review, and check us out on Twitter. Check us out on TikTok at AlsoTeeko and at Star Wars TAP. And then on Instagram at Star Wars TAP, where you can tap in. Riding solo tonight, having a good night, having a good time. I did pose a question in my Discord, didn't get an answer to it. If you guys preferred a camera or one with gameplay. At any moment, I'm willing to throw up some gameplay and have a wee cheeky little chat about some Star Wars stuff while we play a game, but it's entirely up to the stream. If you're just coming through the streams, I appreciate you guys for being here. If you're listening on demand, welcome. Hopefully you are having a good time. Last week, the podcast was demonetized off rip, and I do want to talk about that before we get going today. Our podcast got demonetized off rip simply because we had the actress who portrayed Cara Dune, Gina Carano, in our thumbnail. And my goodness, that girl is going through some stuff right now. That girl is going through some stuff. Shout out and praise be from the highest to Gina Carano. Hope she's doing well. She's got a lawsuit pending against Disney, Lucasfilm, and Huckleberry Studios, I believe it is. Huckleberry Limited. She's got a lawsuit pending, and you know me, folks. You know I'm always just about justice and about doing what's right. It's never been political for me. It's never been anything for me. But I just hope that justice prevails, because Cara Dune was one of my favorite characters. I was really interested in her character. I thought what she was doing was sick, and I do kind of feel slighted that we never really got a good send off or a good goodbye, and I'm really upset that we never got to see her and Grief Karga on screen at the same time again. That was a real blow to the system. That was really tough to see. It sucked. And you just feel for people, you know. you just feel for people that don't get to say goodbye to loved ones. And we as a community, we really didn't get to say goodbye to our boy Carl Weathers, who did portray Grief Karga. And it made me think of the many losses that we have as people, and we never really get to say goodbye. So what I would like to do, what I would like to implore you guys do, is hug your loved ones, tell your mother that you love her, tell your significant other what they mean to you and how much they mean to you. And even if it's for one day, just spend a singular day just noticing them. Notice what they do. Notice their idiosyncrasies, because one day they're going to be gone and you're going to miss them. And it's going to be very, very tough. So give your mother the biggest hug possible that you got. Let her know you love her. And if your father's still around, and that's the reason why I always say, you know, tell your mother that you love her, because my father's not around. My father's not around. I can't text him. I can't call my dad up and ask him how he's doing. How's work going? I can't do those things, and it's tricky, man. It's really tricky. But if you have people in your life that you care about, they should never wonder, they should never guess if they mean something to you. And I think it goes without saying that we as a people can do a lot better at communicating our emotions, at communicating the truth to people. And I think it's as simple as that. Just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. Be honorable. Be real with people. There's no need to waste people's time. Live up to your word. Life is so easy when you don't have to remember. And you catch people in their lies, man, and it's just like, damn. So that's how it is. That's how it is. It sucks. It really does suck. So my best words of advice, just take advantage of the time that you have with people. Enjoy their presence. Enjoy hearing their laughter. Do what you have to do, because one day it's all going to be gone, and it's going to go so quickly. It's going to go so quickly. I never realized myself how quickly it goes until I'm a 20-something-year-old kid and I can't text my dad. And it's a bit tricky with me, because 11 of the 18 years that he was around, in my first 18 years, he had cancer. So it's not that you're thinking like, oh, any day could be the day, but when you're told by his doctors that, hey, like, he's got 4 months to live, why don't you guys go to Disneyland? It's on me. Go enjoy it. Go have fun. Have a good time. You're 9 years old, you hear that. 8 years old.
I see the Padawan needs one last lesson.
You gotta appreciate people for when they're here, because in the stroke of a clock, they can be gone, man. And that's just not something that any of you truly want to have occur. I promise. It's too tough, and it's unbearable. It's truly unbearable. So if you're arguing with your parent, if you're arguing with a sibling, do what you got to do to make up with them. Because I promise it's not worth it. It hasn't been worth it. And whatever you're arguing over, I promise it'll never truly be worth it to fight with a loved one and hold that resentment and hold that on them. We see that in Star Wars. Luke Skywalker hated Vader until he saw who he really was, and who he really was literally just him. And he was like, oh crap, this is where my life is headed. If I don't turn this around, it's Jover. I have to figure this out. And granted, it took Luke a good while to do it, but once Luke finally had the idea in his mind that, all right, like, we're doing this, we're turning Vader, we're turning him, I'm bringing my father back, there was no hesitation. There was no hesitation. And truthfully, I think what he did was commendable. I think what he did was the right thing to do. And you have to applaud the efforts that a son would go through for their father. You know, Luke would do anything for his dad. Genuinely, Luke would do anything for his dad. And he did. He tried to do anything for his dad. So I hope that you guys can kind of get where I'm coming from. I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from and just see what I'm trying to say in all this. It's a really tricky aspect when you have characters that love each other so much, people that love each other so much, and they have to go through an absolute ringer for them. And then you have like arguments and bickering going on at home or at work or with friends, and you won't even text them, you won't even call them, you won't even let them know, hey, thinking about you. I genuinely, I think we do need to get to a place where we can just communicate with one another and feel good about it. So if I can give you all one micro piece of advice, just do what you have to do to find peace in this world. Do what you have to do to find some sort of common ground to get back in the right footing with people, because I promise it's not worth losing someone for. It's not worth losing someone for. And I hope that you guys take that to heart, because it's a tricky slope. It's a really tricky slope when you feel like there's no one that you can really talk to. And it becomes a really lonely world. And that's why I admire to bits and look up to a guy like Luke Skywalker, because look at all that he was going through. Look at all that he was going through, from losing his aunt and uncle, to losing Ben, to losing Biggs, to fighting in a war. Like, No wonder Luke wanted to flee from Dagobah. No wonder. He had already lost so many people in his life that he was afraid to lose more people. And I think Kenobi and Yoda, when they saw Luke leaving Dagobah to go and help Han and Leia and Chewie and 3PO, I think they saw,
That might be the Mandalorian way.
I genuinely think that they saw reflections of Anakin,
Not anymore.
because they get this wild intuition that, oh geez, Anakin did this exact same thing. Like, what are we gonna do? We don't want to lose Anakin forever. We can't let Luke fall like Anakin once did. And I think that's where the Jedi began to ultimately freak out a little bit. Because, like, if we lose Luke, he's our final hope. And that's what Kenobi genuinely meant when he said that. But then Yoda had to remind him, like, no, like, don't forget, there's still Leia. There's still another. So I absolutely adore, and I absolutely love Empire Strikes Back for that reason, because we do get that nice callback to the past and the nice reflective moment that both of these Jedi Masters get when they each know what Luke is ultimately capable of. And it's truly remarkable stuff, because as we follow along Luke's journey, we know that he is the spitting image of Anakin. Inside, outside the Force, he is the spitting image of Anakin. But Luke does everything the right way. Lives up to his word. He keeps his promises. He does things that Anakin didn't do. And I think the prequels are such a beautiful collection of films, because it shows the eloquent diversity of storytelling. They're telling the exact same story as the original trilogies, with different flavor, with different dishes, with different ingredients, but they're following a very similar recipe. And you don't realize it unless you have a very sophisticated palate. And it's so fun to get those like eureka moments when you put pieces together like that. It's so fun. And with Star Wars especially, I get that a lot. As with like the pod racing scene. With the pod racing scene, it has volumes of irony, volumes of contrast, volumes of similarities to say when in the Clone Wars Ahsoka is off on her own for the first time without Anakin. Anakin can really only look over and just hope that she's doing everything the right way, just like Qui-Gon. was watching Anakin, because at this point Qui-Gon couldn't intervene. He could intervene with the dice roll. He can't intervene in the actual pod racing. It's up to Anakin and his abilities. Just like it was up to Ahsoka and her abilities, and all Anakin could do was overlook and watch and foresee her do the best job she could as a commander. Star Wars is all about storytelling, and it's all about family, and it's all about hope. And as far as I'm concerned, that's all you ever really need. Even as a human being, you need family. With family comes stories, and with stories come hope. That's why Star Wars has been so impactful and so eventful and so emotionally investable for me. Because I've been able to hang on to an ounce of hope better than anybody. Not to say I've had the worst life, and I don't ever want to complain, and I will never assess my life as a bad life. I will never say I've had a very blessed life, a very good life. But I will be honest, and I will say that, you know, hey, things have been tough, but who hasn't had it tough is what I'm trying to get at. And the reason why I think it's so important for each of us to keep that perspective in the back of our mind that, hey, everyone else has it tough, like you're not the only one going through some stuff right now, is just because it will inherently provide you much more support when you're going through a really tough time. And I think with Luke Skywalker, that was a big thing that he himself was reliant upon, was just saying like, hey, I'm not the only one in the galaxy going through some stuff right now. And I'm one of the fortunate ones because I am a Jedi, like my father before me. And it took me a minute to kind of put those perspectives together and put those understandings next to each other. But as soon as I did, I won't lie to you guys, like, it's been head and shoulders just so easy to just find peace. Even just with myself, I'm so at peace. And it's taken me a minute. I won't lie, it has taken me a minute. But I love who I am. I love what I am. I know that I am a great son. I know that I'm a good boyfriend. I know that I'm a great friend. Sometimes you just have to believe, and you have to give yourself a chance, and you can't be afraid to fail. That's ultimately what it boils down to, as well, as you can't be afraid to fail. And I think that's where we get a bunch of our doubt that creeps in and sets in, is we get this weird feeling of being afraid to fail, when failing is how we learn, and we're human beings. We're on this earth to learn. So I'm getting over the pedestal. I'm getting over the hump. But one day, very soon here, I think that I will have comfortably conquered my fear of failure. Because I've had this fear of failure for, blimey, years, man. Dating back to when I was a kid, when I was playing sports, especially when I was in school. Because in school, I only ever wanted to be perfect. But I knew early on that perfection was the goal. It was never attainable. And that's just what I told myself. That's how I broke it down. But as far as, you know, reaching unattainable goals, I think it comes down to, if you really want something, you'll go for it. And if there's something that you think you deserve, like, you're gonna fight for it. And that's what, to me, I love so much about Luke Skywalker, is that he felt like the Empire did not deserve what they were getting, what they were doing, how they were doing it, and he couldn't stomach the way that people were being treated, the way that things were functioning, how things were functioning. And he knew that the universe deserved better. So what did he do? He went out and blew up a Death Star. He put his name in the hat for the rebellion against the Empire. Luke was about to join the Imperial Academy. Like, he was about to go fight for the Empire just because he had to get off Tatooine. There's nothing left on Tatooine for him. Rather than conform, rather than fall back and do something that he didn't want to do, he took a shot. And granted, it was the only shot that he had. His uncle and aunt were perished at that point, but nonetheless, it's what he had to do. And he made it work, and he made it happen. And Luke Skywalker is just such a pivotal character and such an important character, especially to kids, especially to a person that needs a Luke Skywalker in their life. And when I was a kid, I needed Luke Skywalker. I needed an Anakin Skywalker. So it was really important to me to see such an important character, such a focal character, go after the things that he wanted, the things that he loved, and fight for the ones that he loved. And it turned out to be one of the greatest stories in cinema history. So, again, mad respect to George Lucas for writing such a beautiful, such a gorgeous story, and for changing the world, man. I watched an interview that he did recently, and he was kind of entailing where he was when he was writing Star Wars, why he wrote it, and he puts it better in his own words, and I don't want to verbatim, but he did it for all the right reasons, because he had a story to tell, and he wanted to tell his story the right way. And it's genuinely commendable having people that are simply trying to do the right thing when they attempt to change the world, and they're doing it the right way. Like, I've always appreciated that about how real some of these people can be, man. Because there's a good amount of people that, you know, they put movies out, they put shows out, they work for studios that don't have the best ethics, the best morals, and it disheartens me. I'll say that. It disheartens me when you don't fully get the backing that you deserve. And George Lucas had to go to hell and high water to get the backing that he got. And even then, he barely got it. So I do want to say a huge shout out to George Lucas a huge shout out to Star Wars. You changed my life. You've probably changed the lives of thousands of kids, millions of kids, hundreds of millions of people. And there's so much about this great franchise that we yet even talk about. So just a huge thank you, genuinely. I do want to talk about some Old Republic after that long-winded introduction. I do want to talk about some Old Republic, and we are going to talk about some Old Republic. Don't you guys worry, but as far as it goes, like, I can't thank you guys enough for the support and the love and just everything that you've given to this podcast, because it's not easy doing a one-man podcast, and if I had it my way, I wouldn't be doing a one-man podcast, but we make it work. We make it work, and you guys have been the absolute goats for coming through, showing love, and always being collaborative and helping out. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. This is the Archives Podcast. I am your host, Debo, and let's get into it. Let's talk about some Knights of the Old Republic. Let's talk about some Old Republic and see where we go with it. So I have been playing KOTOR as far as I've gotten so far, and it's been really fun. I have to admit, it's been really, really fun. We've had arguably some of the best times in those KOTOR streams where I'm lost, don't know where to go, don't know what to do, but we end up figuring it out. And it's really fun. It's really fun to experience these things with new characters and people that we've never played with and learn so much. I've read some of the Revan book. I know a whole bunch about Revan and the Mandalorian wars and such, but when you're actually sitting down and getting into the nitty-gritty of it and learning so much about it, it's really fun. And it's a good time, and it begs the question, a question that I would like to discuss. Should the Old Republic be canonized in terms of a TV show or a movie? My answer right here, right now, is no. I think it should be a playbox, a sandbox for fans to go out, create whatever world, whatever character they want. If you're not going to be serious about it, if you're not going to give us a Game of Thrones length style show about the entirety of the Old Republic, what are we doing? I'm really getting sick of the one character name shows. Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Mandalorian. A show like Andor is amazing because it really could be called The Rebellion. Obi-Wan Kenobi could have been called Reva, but they called it Obi-Wan Kenobi to sell some merchandise. I would really appreciate if we ended up getting a nice brand spanking new revamped, remade Knights of the Old Republic on the modern consoles. Everywhere you look, they say, oh, it's not been canceled, it's still being remade. Give us some hope. I'd love a 1313 video game. I would love a 1313 video game. I think that would be really sick. I think that would be really cool. Let us have a bounty hunter RPG game similar to like Red Dead Online, GTA Online, that we can just go have fun. Open world, literally open world. Give us some vehicles, give us some objectives, give us some stuff to do, give us tasks, but at the end of the day, set us free, you know? I'm not asking for too much. I'm asking for someone to take Star Wars video games serious. Because when has anyone taken Star Wars video games seriously apart from, say, Respawn, who you can't even fault Respawn. They're doing the best job they can. They are doing the best job that they can. And I think the team at Respawn are doing the Lord's work. Genuinely. I think they're doing the Lord's work. They're single-handedly keeping Star Wars games afloat. And I think it's time that we give them their flowers. Because I have not been seeing enough people show love towards Respawn. Show love towards the Star Wars Jedi games in general. I think it's time that we show those games some love, folks. Because they are really good. And I know no one's doubting that. I know nobody's doubting that they're really good games. But I think it is time, and I think they've earned their due. They've earned their due. So this is my small shout out to the Respawn Jedi games. We are playing them on stream recently, and I just bought a PlayStation Portal that I am due to be getting here soon. Really excited for, by the way. And I absolutely can't wait to get my hands on it. Can't wait to play it. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be an absolutely great time. I'm going to be playing PlayStation in the bath. Playing some PlayStation in the backyard. Hanging out on a summer night out there playing some PlayStation. You kidding me? It's going to be sick. But I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited for it. So the Old Republic, it's dominated by a handful of characters. Darth Bane, Darth Revan, Darth Malak, Bastila Shan, Satele Shan, Darth Malgus, Darth Emperor Vitiate, whom I don't know too much about, but we have three games? Knights of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and Star Wars The Old Republic. Those games I really do want to dive into. I am playing KOTOR right now. We're going to play KOTOR tonight on stream. And I'm hyped. I'm actually really looking forward to it. It should be a really good time. It should be a really good time. I don't know exactly how far that I am or where I'm at or what I'm doing, but we're having fun doing it. You know what I mean? I just got to the Sith Temple. I'll say that. And I know I'm fighting some lady. I'm about to fight some lady to the death. So it's going to be nuts. And I thoroughly look forward to it, man. I thoroughly look forward to it. It's going to be sick. I implore you all to come by the streams at AlsoTeeko everywhere. we do be having a good time. It is a great atmosphere. It's just like this podcast where we hang out, we vibe out, and just see what happens. We just see what happens. And my favorite thing that I've liked is the character interactions between one another, and seeing the characters grow a little bit, and seeing how they not interact with the world, but just how they change based on where they're at in the world, if that makes sense. And it's been fun learning so much more about planets I never knew about, species I never knew about, even the Sith, which I'm not too knowledgeable about. It's fun to learn who they are, why their aspirations are what they are. And I've learned so much in this short span of time. Between researching for my book, like, we've been doing absolute bits. And I did finish chapter 1 of my book. I am going to insert a little segment at the end of this podcast where I'm reading the first few pages of my book. If you guys are interested, check out my Patreon to support and quote unquote pre-order. You're more than welcome to do so, and I would highly appreciate it. It would mean everything to me if you guys were interested in something like that. But KOTOR has been... Timo in the YouTube chat says, agree with you 100%. Character development has been uncommon with new games. Yeah. It really feels like that, doesn't it, man? It really feels like that. Which sucks because I love playing story-driven games. I love playing single-player story-driven games. If I'm not playing video games with my friends, then I'm wanting to play a story game. Because I CBA to play multiplayer online games. That's just not me anymore. I'm over that. I'm past that. It is what it is. There's nothing there for me anymore. But with games like KOTOR, I can have an absolute ball on. I can learn, and more importantly, I can have fun with. And it's going to be different than anyone else's game. It's not like Jedi Survivor where there's one set ending. KOTOR, there's different endings. There's different paths to get there. There's different companions to play with. There's different branches. There's different routes. And it's like, why don't video games have this these days? Is this really something that's so, like, asinine and so far away? Not really, because when you think about it, KOTOR is less, 21 years ago KOTOR was made. In the grand scheme of things, that's not that far away. That's not too old. But because of how we think about things and how we see things, it certainly feels old to us, you know? But the fact that that's probably the best Star Wars game that we've had in a while, it kind of brings down the valuation of all Star Wars games, because if this was the cream of the crop and this is still holding up today, what's going on here? You have games like Star Wars Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the original editions. They still hold up today. And then you look at today's Battlefronts. Battlefront 1 was kind of a waste. Didn't have a story mode. Didn't really expand upon anything. Battlefront 2 had a story mode. It was so quick. It was so quick. Even though it was fun. I'm 9 hours into KOTOR. I believe I am on the 3rd planet. What up, Flask? We're just getting started, man. We are just getting started in here. But I'm 9 hours deep in KOTOR, and I am on the 3rd planet. I've been to Terrace, I've been to Dantooine, and I literally just left Dantooine to go to Korriban. I call it the Morriban because that's its canon name, which I thought is funny. Greetings from Denmark, just gonna lurk and sleep. Oh, feel free, man. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or Star Wars related stuff that you'd like to hear about, feel free to toss it in the chat. But no, appreciate you for coming through all the way from Denmark, man. That means a lot to me. I've henceforth just fell in love with the idea of two characters being so interwoven together as Revan and Bastila are. Not only do they go on, and I know that they go on to get married and have kid and happily ever after, but to see like the beginnings of things, it's really cool. It's really cool. I've been in my relationship now for, oh man, year and a half, and it still feels like there's some times where it still feels like we're in the early days where everything's exciting and life is just bliss. It's fun. So seeing it in video game characters that I'm invested in is remarkable. It truly is remarkable. I'm really excited to see where the story ends up going, how we get there, because right now Bastila is super subservient. She's super all about the light side, but I know that she falls because of spoilers. And I know that there's a KOTOR 2, but I know nothing about KOTOR 2. So I'm really excited to see that as well. This is kind of just more of a KOTOR check-in than a segment in and of itself, because I can only base what I'm talking about beyond where I'm at in the actual game. So I can only just say I'm having a really good time playing it. I'm having so much fun, and I'm gonna keep going as much and as hard as I can, because it's been really fun. It's been really, really fun, and I'm genuinely and thoroughly enjoying it, and I'll just see where it goes. I have no hard expectations for it. Just want to have fun, man. Just want to have fun. And we're going to play a little bit of it after this podcast. Just have to run to the shops and get a return going. I got to return some stuff. But yeah, as far as the podcast goes, I think this is a really good section to transition to the Galactic dispatches. If you guys are in the chat, feel free to ask anything and it'll get answered with priority. These are questions that we've had sent in over time, and questions that we've maybe skipped over or missed in the past, and we're going to answer them now. We have 9 of them. I am going to drink some water before we get into it, because I've been talking for like 5 hours straight today. And I always do get a little lightheaded towards the end of the podcast. Fun fact. Alrighty, so the first question in: what is it about Star Wars that just captures people's hearts, no matter their age or background? I say this a lot, and I should genuinely be an ambassador for Star Wars. Disney, Lucasfilm, holla at me. tskfinances@gmail.com. I'd be happy to come on board. I'd be happy to shill the product because I love the product. I think Star Wars captures people's hearts because there's something for everybody in Star Wars. Whether you're a fan of the good guy, the bad guy, the superhero, the everyman, the background characters, the foreground characters, the lightsabers, the blasters, the starships, the military tactics, the wars, the love. There's something for everybody. And you see that nowadays as the fandom is as diverse as it's ever been. I remember growing up, if you like Star Wars, you're an absolute neek. You were a nerd. And I was like, hey guys, I'm the best athlete in the school. I love Star Wars. Granted, probably had some of the best grades in the school. So yeah, I'm a nerd, but I love Star Wars, man. And I think that's what it is about Star Wars. There's just something for everybody. You can hone in on a specific character, specific time period. You can learn more about it. You can dive into the lore, or you can just be a casual fan. It doesn't matter. Star Wars is genuinely for everybody. I was just a Star Wars nerd without the sports ability and good grades. Yeah, that's okay, man. We're all human at the end of the day. We're all human. No one's judging. And if someone is judging, that speaks more volumes on them than it does about you. Next question. Which Star Wars character really sticks out to you as having the most interesting journey or transformation, and why? Oh, man. Probably Anakin? Probably Anakin? We get to see, it's a tough one. We get to see Anakin literally from a child up until death, and then after death. So he goes through the most interesting journey and transformation, as your question asks. Is it fair to answer Anakin? Is that lazy to answer Anakin? I'll say so, yeah. But I think it's true. Leia's a really interesting character. I love her journey. But hers, I get kind of mixed up because I'm reading a Legends book. I'm reading Heir to the Empire right now, and it's not exactly canon. So, a bit tricky there. But I'll say Anakin for answer's sake. You know, we get to see Anakin as a boy grow into a teen, grow into a man, grow into what really is the representation of a typical human being. You're a slave to the master, you're a slave to the empire. And that's what Anakin was when he was Darth Vader. He was going around doing the Emperor's bidding, just like we as humans. We go to work, clock in, clock out, go home, go back the next day. You know? It's truly unfortunate, but Anakin is quite literally the most human character that we've ever seen, and maybe when he's the most human he's ever been, he's in the Vader suit. So it's sad stuff. Number 3, if you could grab a drink with any Star Wars character, who would it be and what would you ask them? This is a good one, because I don't really know. What up, Mundane? So ghosto. Why am I so ghosto, bro? Why am I so ghosto? I don't ghost people. If I could grab a drink with any Star Wars character, what would I ask them? I would pick... Man, this is so tough. There's so many options that I want to pick. What about you guys in the chat? What are you guys feeling? Let me know. This is really tough, and I don't want to give you like a answer. I want to give you a good answer. Maybe Yoda. And I'd ask him, hey, why have you been twerking for the Senate so much? Why have you been twerking for these politicians and for these lawmakers and for these idiots that have quite literally been using you guys? Why have you been twerking for them for 800 years? I genuinely want to know what he would say to that. Because at a certain point, you're not fighting for the Republic, you're fighting for the Senate. You don't work for the Senate, you work for the Republic. Come on now. When did you first fall in love with Star Wars, and what was it about it that hooked you? I was a wee child. My dad liked it, so I liked it. I went and saw episode 2 in theaters. That was really sick. Had a great time with it. The toys were cool. Laser swords, are you kidding me? Anakin was a kid when I was a kid, so kind of grew up with Anakin. And then as I grew up, seeing Anakin grow up was the most real thing that I've ever experienced. Because I was like, damn, it's pretty symbolic. It's pretty linear. We all have our favorite Star Wars quotes. What's yours and why does it resonate with you? Man, these are some good questions today. These are some really good questions today. What is my favorite Star Wars quote? It's something that I've been telling myself a lot recently, and it's Han Solo, never tell me the odds. And I know it's a silly quote. I know it's a really silly quote, but for me, I've always felt like I've had the odds stacked against me. And recently, it's kind of gotten me through some tough times. I've been struggling recently with mental health, physical health. And I'm doing good now. I'm doing good now. Never tell me the odds. Lightsabers are such an iconic part of Star Wars. If you had your own, what color would it be? And what fighting style would you use? Well, the color I'd want is green. I don't know what color it would be. I am taking a quiz with my girlfriend soon. And what fighting style would I use? I've always been a fan of Form 4. I've always been a fan of Form 4. Which is the Ataru. The aggression, the take the fight to the enemy form. Some practitioners, Anakin, Yoda, Ahsoka, Kyle Katarn, Luke Skywalker. It's all really fun. Form 4, definitely. Because I do believe that You have to take the fight to the enemy, especially when you're outmatched, you're outnumbered. But I am a pretty big fella, pretty tall, good strength to me. Absolutely so jacked. So who knows, but I think Form 4. I think Form 4. Which Star Wars character do you find yourself rooting for the most? Luke Skywalker. I root for Luke 10 times out of 10 because he's doing everything for the right reasons. And seeing someone come from such tough background, such honest background as a farmer, grew up without his parents, grew up with an aunt and uncle who never claimed him as their own. It couldn't have been easy. So shout out to Luke Skywalker, man. Imagine you're stranded on a desert planet like Tatooine. What 3 Star Wars characters would you want by your side and why? This is another really good question. Who would we want? I'll take Luke because he's from Tatooine. I'll take Leia because she's rich and she has connections. And it says character, so I was gonna say a bantha, so I can just ride the bantha, but I don't think that counts. Give me R2-D2 because he knows his way around Tatooine. He freaking found Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know. Give me R2-D2. Ooh, BB-8 would be a solid one. BB-8 because he's got the map. Yeah, give me BB-8. Luke Skywalker. Luke might have R2-D2 anyways, and then Leia. And then if we get trapped, I can just, you know, if we get stuck there, can just, I don't know, start a life as a lowly construction worker or something. I don't know. Lastly, if you could sum up your question, not Jesus Christ. If you could sum up your love for Star Wars in just one word, what would it be, and why does that word resonate with you? Hope. Star Wars has given me hope. It has given me so much life when I've needed it. So much appreciation, so much escape from the real world, so much time, energy dedicated towards it. Hope. Star Wars made me realize that I can make something of myself, and that's the plan. That is the plan. That is the plan. Well, folks, that's all that I've got. If you guys have any questions or anything else that you would like answered, let me know. And if not, I will say deuces maneusses and get you guys up out of here. We'll be back live at probably like 7:30 p.m. And until then, it's been your boy AlsoTeeko. I do appreciate each and every single one of you. Drop a like, subscribe, and more importantly, leave a good review and follow us everywhere at Star Wars TAP. Growing podcast, small podcast, and hoping to do big things with it. I love you all, and hopefully you all have a good rest of your night.